Welcome to the world behind midnight. Tonight's file was sealed after a team of Navy SEALs was sent to close a facility that the ZVUK program abandoned in 1984. What? The program abandoned was not empty. It never was. The things inside had 40 years to decide what they were. They decided. 7 subjects rejected by ZVUK in 1984, released into Venezuelan jungle. Forgotten. The facility they were released near has a resonance amplifier that has been calling them for 40 years. Orders: seal, destroy, extract, do not engage first. The 7 were already converging on the landing zone when the helicopter crossed into Venezuelan airspace. The team was engaged before they landed. The helicopter drops the team and clears. Tex is first out. Always. He hits the Venezuelan jungle floor at 0200. And does not chew. For the first 3 seconds, the specific window in which he assesses ground stability, air quality, and whether the shadows at the tree line are shadows. Then he chews. Ghost is not here. Ghost is 90 kilometers north, in the Amazon network. There is no modified perception on this team. What they have: 12 magazines of silver rounds, Obsidian's silver doctrine load, designed for non-lethal suppression of non-standard biological subjects. It does not kill, it slows. Osei completes perimeter assessment in 9 seconds. 7 thermal signatures at the tree line, 40 meters, all stationary, all watching the LZ. Vance says, "They watched us land." Osei says, "They watched us before we landed." Tex says, "That's fine." He checks his silver magazines. The specific calm of a man who has stood in dark spaces while large things assessed him before. The protocol is the same every time. Stay still. Wait for them to decide. 4 minutes, 7 signatures. Broch runs thermal. She has been running thermal on non-standard subjects since Jordan. What the data returns: 222-260 height, bipedal, skeletal density, inconsistent with standard biology. Heat signature, 4 degrees above human baseline, not fever. Metabolic rate, something running hotter, because standard biology was not built for 40 years of active jungle operation. The Silver Doctrine's 90-second regeneration window is the critical variable. Silver disrupts coordination for 12 to 18 seconds per round, and produces a pack disruption frequency response, a wound sound that confuses the others for 3 to 4 seconds. Then the tissue closes. 90 seconds, Osei says. Higher metabolic rate means they've been active the whole time we've been watching them. Broch says, they are not waiting. They are assessing. The distinction matters. Something that hasn't decided to move can still choose not to. Something that has already decided is just choosing the moment. The Alpha moves first. Right flank, 70 meters, 32 kilometers per hour. Not sprinting, optimizing. Something that has been running this specific jungle for 40 years and has calibrated every stride for wet roots. Uneven ground, the geometry of closing on armed targets. Then something Broch's thermal does not predict. The Alpha does not charge directly. It runs a wide arc, counterclockwise, a single circle through 60 meters of jungle in 7 seconds, before turning and closing the final 20. This is the first undocumented behavior. Not in any Obsidian file. It circles once before it commits. Always. Broch will document it later as apex predator measurement. The circle is an assessment, a ranging of distance and response. The sound arrives before the image, not a howl. A sub-bass frequency that hits the team's chest cavities before their ears register it. 6 beats per minute drop in team heart rates simultaneously. Then the Alpha closes the last 20 meters in 3 seconds. Tex meets it at 4. 2 silver rounds, chest, 4 meters. The impact sound is wet and deep, cellular disruption, not structural. The specific register of silver meeting living tissue at combat velocity. The Alpha staggers. The stagger transmits through the jungle floor, as vibration Tex feels in his boots. It does not stop. 2 rounds center mass, and it closes the remaining distance. Tex does not step back. Stepping back puts him in the extended kill zone of something still moving. He steps into it, drops his shoulder, uses the rotation his grandfather used on cattle, redirects 280 kilograms through his frame and into the mud. The impact shudders through every joint from his ankles to his jaw. The Alpha lands hard. It is up in 4 seconds. The silver wounds glow on Broch's thermal, bright points where the tissue is trying to close around something that will not let it. It is bleeding and it gets up in 4 seconds. Third round. Left shoulder. Already damaged tissue. The Alpha's left side buckles. A sound fills the room. Broch's equipment classifies it later. Class 5 biological stress response. The category reserved for injuries below lethal, but above designed pain tolerance. The Alpha goes down, 11 seconds. Tex uses 10 of them to reload. He does not stop chewing. The 6 move the moment the Alpha hits the mud. Not a charge. 3 left, 3 right. Packed geometry. 2 simultaneous vectors that exceed the processing capacity of any prey that cannot split its attention. The math of the envelope is simple and absolute. 8 seconds before the 2 flanks close and the team is surrounded on all sides. Osei reads it in 2 seconds. She says, 3 and 3, flanking, 8 seconds. There is no alarm in her voice. 8 seconds is a number. Vance has already moved to the left flank. He places the shaped charge, not lethal, a concussive barrier calibrated to disrupt coordinated movement without producing injuries that don't fit obsidian medical classification. The detonation at 6 meters is a wall of pressure. 3 werewolves hit it simultaneously. The mud erupts. They go down in it. One shakes its head and rises to one knee in the time it takes Vance to place his second charge. His hands are already moving before he has consciously decided to move them. He will note in his debrief that he has never placed a second charge faster. He does not note what that means about his state of mind. He does not need to. Osei holds the right flank with 7 silver rounds in 90 seconds. 3 subjects, multiple impacts each. The silver doctrine is not elegant. Every round produces 12 to 18 seconds of coordination, disruption, and a wound frequency that propagates through the pack's shared sensory field, producing 3 to 4 seconds of confusion in the others each time one of the 3 is hit. Osei is running the math in real time. She can hold the right flank for approximately 4 more minutes at current ammunition expenditure. She transmits, right flank, suppressed. Silver doctrine effective, regeneration at 90 seconds per wound. Advise move to facility before I run low. There is no urgency in how she says it. There is urgency in the math. The math says 4 minutes. That is what she transmitted. The math also says, at 90-second regeneration, the first 3 subjects she hit at the LZ are fully operational again. 11 seconds between Osei's last silver round and the team's first step north. Nothing moves. The 3 suppressed subjects on the right flank are still in the mud. The Alpha is down 11 seconds of suppression remaining. The 6 from the left flank are partially recovered and not advancing. The jungle is completely still, in a way that jungles are not. Even the rain seems to pause. Broch's monitoring logs a biometric window. Team heart rate stabilizing, adrenaline metabolizing. The specific physiological pause between action and next decision. Tex is looking north at the trail to the facility. He can see it in the NVG. 200 meters of rutanned mud and darkness, and whatever is waiting at the other end of it. He does not say anything. No one does. For 11 seconds, everything that has just happened exists in the space between the last round and the next movement. Then Osei says, move. 200 meters of Venezuelan jungle in the rain. Saturated rutan mud terrain, where every step is a negotiation. The Alpha has risen and is following at 20 meters, not charging, pacing the team with the specific gait of something that has decided to match their speed rather than exceed it. Tex says, without looking back, it's following us to the facility. It knows where we're going. ACA says, then we need to be there first. The facility becomes visible through the tree line at 100 meters, a dark concrete geometry against the jungle dark. 40 years of vine and root intrusion making it look like the jungle grew a building that it is now trying to finish absorbing. The ZVUK secondary facility. 40 by 20 meters. Concrete. 40 years of jungle reclamation in progress. Vines covering the eastern wall completely. Roof collapsed in 3 sections. The resonance amplifier is in the central technical room. Vance identifies it in 6 seconds by the dust pattern. Dust settles on everything in a 40-year-old abandoned facility. Everything except the amplifier's contact surfaces. The amplifier vibrates. Dust does not settle on things that vibrate. A green status light is on. In 1984, the ZVUK program activated this amplifier as a frequency test on the 7 rejected subjects before releasing them. The 7 subjects destroyed the test chamber. The amplifier has been broadcasting at low power since then. 40 years of low-power broadcast aimed at 7 subjects released 12 kilometers away. Broch says, it's why they stayed. Not territory. It was calling them every hour of every day for 40 years, and they stayed within range. Because whatever the frequency was, it was the only thing in their world that spoke in the language of what they were supposed to be. Vance looks at the amplifier. He says, 90 seconds to destroy this. Osei says, you have 40. The Alpha enters through the collapsed roof, before Vance places the first charge. 4 meters of free fall onto concrete, and it absorbs it the way 40 years of jungle canopy travel has calibrated its skeleton to absorb impact. It lands in the central room. Vance is 6 meters away, with his first charge, between Vance and the amplifier. The Alpha looks at the amplifier. Not at Vance, not at Tex in the doorway, not at Broch in the corner transitioning to medical kit. The green light reflects in its eyes, a specific recognition in something that was built to receive this exact frequency. Broch transmits. It's not attacking. Tex says, not yet. He steps between the Alpha and Vance. The Alpha turns its head, measures. Then it circles one slow counterclockwise arc in the confined space of the technical room, mapping the walls, the personnel, the distance to the amplifier. It is measuring in exactly the way it measured at the LZ, before it committed. Same circle, same patience. Then it stops and faces Tex. The charge is faster than the LZ charge. Enclosed space, shorter distance. The impact takes Tex into the wall at a velocity that makes the concrete feel like a beginning rather than an end. His body processes it as stop, and then his brain processes it as still here. Something shifts in his right shoulder that he recognizes not as pain but as absence. The specific functional gap he has felt twice before from a dislocation. The moment when the arm stops being an arm and becomes a weight he is responsible for. He files this under sortable and comes off the wall. The Alpha's back is to him, 0 meters. He fires 2 silver rounds. The sound fills the room, not the sound of the rounds, the sound the Alpha makes, a Class 5 biological stress response, a frequency that seems to compress the air, and is distinct from any sound any living thing should produce, because it is the sound of a physiology expressing maximum distress below the threshold of its own death. Everyone in the facility pauses for 2 seconds. Then Tex fires the 4th round. The Alpha stays down. Tex stands. His right arm hangs at the wrong angle. He picks up his weapon with his left hand. Vance places 3 charges in 38 seconds. 40 was the deadline. 38 is what happens when the hands stop waiting for instruction and execute through 12 years of muscle memory. The amplifier has 3 structural weak points: resonance chamber junction, power coupling, primary transmission coil, confirmed visually in 6 seconds against the ZVUK technical schematic he memorized from the Arctic Operation Classified Annex. He places the 3rd charge, transmits, armed, 30-second delay, clear the technical room now. Osei transmits, problem at the main entrance. Vance transmits, clear the room first. He walks backward from the amplifier, eyes on the green light, sidestepping the Alpha on the floor, without looking at it. The green light is still on. 30 seconds. 5 at the main entrance. 2 beta rank adults recovered from the LZ, and 3 juveniles. Broch identifies the juveniles from thermal profiles. Smaller, faster. The distinctive heat signature of something whose metabolism is running even higher than the adults. Because juvenile apex predators burn at maximum rate before their systems calibrate for efficiency. The critical variable with juveniles. They do not calculate risk. Adults have 40 years of operational jungle experience and have developed threat assessment. Juveniles have not. They commit without calculating. The first juvenile enters through the eastern wall, not the door, not the roof, through 40 years of vine intrusion into crumbling concrete, a passage that Osei did not have listed as an access point, because it did not exist as an access point until the juvenile created it. Osei fires once. Standard round. She has 4 silver left, and is holding them. The round does not suppress the juvenile. It surprises it. There is a difference. The juvenile goes back through the wall. It will not be surprised on the second attempt. Broch transmits, 2 adults, 60 seconds out, 16 seconds before the detonation. Broch activates the baseline freeze, the obsidian portable resonance emitter, tuned to the higher resonance, ZVUK, compatibility frequency. The specific frequency, the 7 rejected subjects were screened out for not carrying. The theory, broadcasting this frequency near low resonance subjects produces 4 to 12 seconds of biological disorientation. The practice, every werewolf in the facility stops. The alpha, rising from 4th round suppression, stops at half height. The juvenile at the eastern breach stops mid-step, with 1 foot in the facility and 1 in the wall. The 2 adults 60 meters out stop at 60 meters. 4 seconds of complete biological stillness. The air changes quality, denser. The specific atmospheric pressure of multiple large metabolic systems, simultaneously suspending. Broch holds it for 8 seconds. She says, "Clear." Vance has already moved. He will note in his debrief that the distance between the technical room and the main door was the fastest movement of his 16-year service career. Broch says, "Run." They run. 31 seconds. 1 second late. Humidity affecting detonator conductivity. Vance will note the variance and recommend a tropical correction table. The shaped charges produce focused destruction at 3 points, collapsing the resonance chamber inward and severing the power coupling. Then the secondary. The amplifier's own capacitor banks, 40 years of accumulated low power energy, release in 3 seconds. The technical room ceases to exist as a structural unit. The green status light is out. For the first time since 1984, it is out. The alpha is thrown 20 meters by the pressure wave and found by Broch's thermal scan against a root buttress in the jungle, sitting, not downed, bleeding from its silver wounds and 3 new concussive lacerations, looking at the place where the facility was. The other 6 are scattered across a 100-meter radius. All 7 alive. All 7 stationary. None approaching. Tex walks to the alpha. His right arm hangs wrong. The alpha watches him approach with the specific attention of a predator that is injured and assessing whether what is walking toward it is a threat or not. It has spent 40 years calibrating this assessment. It reaches a conclusion in the time it takes Tex to cover 30 meters on wet roots. Not a threat. Tex sits down on a route 3 meters from it. He takes out his gum. He chews. The alpha watches him chew for approximately 12 seconds. The movement of a jaw, regular, unremarkable, the most human thing Tex does automatically. Then the alpha looks at the facility, at where the technical room was, at the specific absence, where the green light used to be. Tex says, quietly, to no one and to the alpha simultaneously, 40 years of something calling you, and then it stops. That's a specific kind of quiet. The alpha does not respond. It looks at the absence. Tex sits and chews. They sit together for 4 minutes. The rain slows. Broch reduces Tex's shoulder in 4 minutes. She does not say anything about what he just did. She has been logging his biometrics throughout. Heart rate, 62. Blood pressure slightly elevated. Adrenaline metabolizing at a rate consistent with moderate physical engagement. She writes, "The baseline human in this program is not the same baseline as outside it. Tex has been close range against non-standard subjects for 4 operations. His biometrics show moderate exertion. Either his threshold has moved, or it was never where she would have placed it on entry." Then she stops writing. The alpha is watching her hands, not her face, not her equipment. Her hands on Tex's shoulder, the specific focused attention of something monitoring a task it recognizes. She writes, "It has seen this before." She adds, "It remembers." Osei maps the 7 thermal signatures for 20 minutes. What she documents. They move from their scattered positions toward a single point 200 meters north of the facility. Not the team. Not the facility. A point in the jungle at the edge of Broch's thermal range. They arrive in sequence. Not aggressively. Each approaches and settles. The behavioral signature of a predator pack returning to a shared reference point after disruption. They have been oriented toward the amplifier for 40 years. The amplifier is gone. They are reorienting to what? The thermal data cannot determine. Osei transmits. Pack behavior is territorial reorientation, not threat escalation. Aggression markers dropping. Vance transmits. I would like to not be here when they finish The Alpha stands 4 minutes before the extraction helicopter arrives. No urgency. The deliberateness of something implementing a decision already made. It looks at Tex, shoulder repaired, chewing. It looks at Broch. It looks at Tex's hands, then at Broch's hands. Not the weapons, the hands. Then it turns north and walks toward the reference point where the other 6 have settled. Tex watches it go. He says, "It was looking at your hands, not mine." Broch says, "I know." Tex says, "Same as the MGLE, same as Capenine." Broch says nothing for 6 seconds. Then she writes, "There is a cellular memory pattern that persists across entities, species, and 40 years of separation from the program that produced them. The pattern recognizes hands that have treated wounds. I need to talk to Doc about this." The extraction helicopter arrives at 0441, 90 seconds to board. Osei files the mission report at 0700 from Bogota. Complete and accurate in every verifiable particular. Facility sealed. Amplifier destroyed. 7 subjects engaged and suppressed. 0 casualties. Tex, operational. Minor contusion. Shoulder. The report does not include 4 minutes in the jungle with the Alpha. The Alpha looking at Broch's hands, not at Tex's weapons. The pack reorienting toward an unidentified reference point 200 meters north. The fact that Broch needs to talk to Doc. Osei counts her omissions. She has never counted omissions before. She has 4. She transmits the report. She thinks, this is how it starts. She does not write this. By the time the helicopter lands in Bogota, the thought has become a fact she is carrying without filing. 3 days after the operation, Broch sends Doc 4 sentences through the Obsidian internal system. 1. Observation from Venezuela to share. 2. The dominant pack individual looked at my hands when I was treating Tex's shoulder, specifically my hands, not my face or my equipment. 3. This matches behavior documented in Prague by the ancient custodians, in Shatili by the MGLE, and on the Atlantic island by the Third Guardian, involving entities with 0 direct contact with each other. 4. If the cellular memory of hands that have treated wounds transmits across 3 continents, 40 years, and unrelated biological architectures, the transmission mechanism is not proximity. Doc reads it 4 times. He writes, Broch has found the same thread from a different end. He closes his notebook. He thinks, she is going to be a problem. He means it as a compliment. The best kind of problem. 2 weeks after the operation. Obsidian satellite thermal. 7 pack members at the reference point ASA. Mapped. They have not left. They have constructed something 4 by 4 meters. Jungle material. Open roof. No apparent defensive function. Ghost receives the report in the Amazon. He reads it twice. He says to Keanu, they are building something. Keanu says, what? Ghost checks the bearing. 200 meters north-northeast of the facility. 003 degrees. Ghost says nothing for 11 seconds. Keanu looks at the map. He says, that is the direction of Shatili. Ghost says, I know. He says, do you know why? Ghost says, because they never stopped pointing north. The amplifier stopped. They kept going. Operation Dark Canopy is officially closed. The ZVUK secondary facility in Venezuela is sealed and destroyed. 7 pack members remain at a reference point 200 meters north-northeast, building something that aligns on a bearing of 003 degrees with Shatili. Tex's shoulder is a minor contusion. Broch has sent 4 sentences. Doc hasn't answered. Osei filed for omissions she didn't mark. The Alpha circled once before every charge. It looked at hands that treated wounds. It never stopped pointing north. Subscribe to The World Behind Midnight to uncover the next operation before it disappears. Because some secrets are best left behind midnight.